not directly related to the ministry work that I was doing, but a couple of the people who are involved in leadership that are there that I work with were actually invited to go to a part in Egypt where the families of 21 Egyptian Christians who were captured by ISIS. In fact, I think ISIS released a video within the last year. I think it's been probably in the last 6 months. I'm not sure, but there were these 21 Egyptians who were captured in Libya, and they were. I think they were held for maybe about 40 or something days, and then eventually they were taken to the shore. And I think probably everybody saw at least a still photo of those 21 Egyptians. So, anyways, a couple of the guys that I work with there in Egypt were asked to go down to the city where these Egyptian families were from.
Christians, all Christians.
Yeah, they're all Christians. That's right.
Is this the group that the president called citizens?
I don't know. I didn't.
There was no reference to their Christianity.
Oh yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I didn't follow the news closely with regards to that. I mean, I just saw. I mean, I knew the bigger story, but I didn't see all the news reports. But Focus on the Family put together a group of local Egyptians to go down there and meet with the family members of these people who were martyred. And apparently what had happened was these group of Christians routinely would go to Libya to just get some low-paying jobs and just to do some work there. And then on their way back, they were captured by these members of ISIS who apparently knew them. So apparently there was some sort of insider kind of work going on and identification of who these people were. And then I guess they had caught some of them and asked them where are the rest of them and whatever. But bottom line was they captured these guys. And they'd held them for 43 days. Well, apparently, based on the reports that we got from these friends of mine who had gone down there to meet with the families, initially the families were praying that they'd be released and that they would eventually be freed. I think once they realized they weren't going to be freed, they said that all they kept praying was that they would be faithful to the very end because they knew they were going to be killed, and that they would not, because they were constantly pressuring them, turn away from renounce your faith, turn away from your faith, and
repent or perish.
Yeah, repent or perish, exactly. So these families said, you know what? At that point, we just kept praying that our husbands or our fathers would just remain faithful to the very end. Mm-hmm. And they said, and so these Egyptian Christians who had gone there to meet with them were blown away by these people's faith because they're very simple people, very poor people. They're not very well educated. A lot of them can't read, and yet they were so die hard about their faith and so proud of their fathers, their friends, and their husbands that they remained faithful to the very end. And they said, had they come back, had they been released, they would have been embarrassed and kicked out of the village. They said they wouldn't have even wanted them back because everybody who stood there for their faith was faithful except for the one who didn't, but all of them stayed. All of them remained faithful to the very end. And so my friends who had gone down there to meet with them said they were encouraged by their faith when they were the ones who were sent there to minister to them and find out what kinds of needs they had. But in the end, they still were able to provide them with whatever resources they could. Apparently money was given to some of these families to help build a home because a lot of times they didn't even have regular homes to live in, so they were just extremely poor people, but yet were able to just relay these stories about what had happened. So it was just, when I was hearing the story of my friend who had gone there to meet with them, I was just blown away by the kinds of intense, just the reality of persecution, real persecution, where your life is in jeopardy and at stake for just being a Christian. I was really moved by it, and I know so were these guys. Anyways, that didn't have anything directly related to the work I was doing, but nevertheless, I was just blown away by the whole story and the experience that these people had.